February 24th, 1863. Arizona becomes a U.S. territory, meaning America has run out of ideas. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And our guest is friend of the show, returning favorite. Please welcome again, Timmi Lasley, everyone.
Oh, man, that was just the best joke to open up with. Follow this man on Twitter. I forget his handle, but he's very funny.
Thank you, Timmy.
Burned you, Arizona!
Suck it. Sorry, that felt really weird coming out of my mouth. It's not something I normally say. I'm sorry, Arizona. You're so close to us.
A facade of like taking sort of phrases like word and things like, you're very into saying word nowadays.
Yeah, you did. That word did come up a couple times in the chat.
Yeah.
Within a couple messages of each other.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but Zach's apparently fine with dragging you.
But yeah, of course. I've known him for like 14 years. I've dragged him since day one.
Really?
Yeah, basically.
Well,
Day one, he started insulting me, and I'm like, oh, I'll follow this around.
You're like, oh, this is friendship.
Because I had negative modeling.
But anytime it comes time to say something that actually has like a little bit of edge, like suck it, which is a pretty mild thing to say in 2018.
Yeah, it's like saying crappy fish instead of actually cursing.
A bridge too far.
That popular Twitter slang. Crappy fish.
Crappy fish.
It's like, it's the new grumpy cat. It's just a picture of a fish who sucks.
He's awful.
The listener may notice that this episode feels a little different. So last episode was an episode where it was Brian's first as a 30-year-old, and I was still a happening 20-something. But
and now, welcome to the grave.
Yeah, now it's all over. It's the first episode of the show where it's 30-somethings all around. We've all changed our party to libertarian, as is required.
Yeah, I'm 34. I'm like practically just decomposing at Brian's dining room table.
Yep. I mean, that's what we're all here for. Zach, happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Did you wake up the morning of your birthday, look in the mirror, and just see the Crypt Keeper's face? Because I sure did.
I did, but also I printed out a picture of the Crypt Keeper and put it in front of my mirror a few years ago.
Why would you do that?
Just to remind myself of...
It just says hashtag goals underneath it, I'm sure.
Yeah. My hashtag goals are to eventually be dead, so I'm doing great.
Achievable. Very achievable.
Yeah, you know what? If you aim low, you probably won't miss, is what I always say.
What if you did miss, though, on that one? You just forgot to die. Whoops.
You know, in a way, it would be a success, I guess.
Oh, God damn it. Also, listeners, as I'm sure you're aware, this episode is coming out Sunday night instead of Saturday morning. We had some scheduling mix-ups.
Oh, I'm a nightmare to work with.
Actually, that's our new release schedule, because now we're old people and we don't do this Saturday event nonsense. We're all about Sunday night, where we just sit in and watch HBO and record a podcast.
I mean, that's literally fine with me.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. Last week, Tonight is back. Game of Thrones. So
Game of Thrones is back?
No.
But it still exists on HBO.
Game of Thrones is a concept that exists. Also, Breaking Bad, the Prohibition is a thing.
The Prohibition. But so, listeners, this episode will feature far less editing than usual. I honestly hope that reflects a little bit.
It's going to be fine, because it's going to be perfect. You're not going to need to touch it.
Yeah. Nope, that's already I already ruined it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, usually most of what Brian cuts out is me going on 5 to 10 minute monologues about how the NRA is the greatest institution to ever grace
Zach,
America.
no, don't start it again. I did the This Day in History for yesterday because I realized last year I ended up doing it for this day with the thing where like Samuel Colt got the patent for the Colt revolver. I'm just like, nope, not even coming.
Aw.
This
Fucked up.
podcast.
See, now you're in your 30s. You can't do that, or they'll execute you. They'll just kill you. Be like,
They'll
dead
execute
weight.
It's like a Logan's Run thing.
We're not about being timely. We're about the opposite of being timely.
Yeah, fair. Actually.
Timelish? Time-ish?
Timely.
Time-ish. It's something that happened in time, for sure.
Yeah. We're unstuck in time. We're Billy Pilgrimin. Zach, what do we do on this podcast?
This is a podcast where we discuss a person or an event from history. Human history, as a matter of fact.
An important distinction.
Yeah, we haven't discussed microbial
Our
history.
Big Bang series, our Formation of the Planet series is forthcoming, so we'll see about that.
And, of course, our Big Bang series will be rapturously reviewed. 9 seasons, a bunch of Emmys, be completely unlistenable. Anyway.
The alternate history is just a bazinga, and that's
Motherfucker.
and well, let's say bazinga and some not so subtle misogyny.
Yeah, but that's only because girls are dumb.
They don't know about science and popular culture.
Well,
They're
only,
women.
I mean, if they're pretty, they don't. Because they don't.
They only know about matters sartorial and cooking related.
I'm sorry, what was that word you used? I don't know what that is.
It was cooking.
Oh, no, I know that one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting it mixed up with baking. I know baking. I brought you this pie.
Oh, it's delicious. I'm gonna do a whole ASMR thing of us just eating a pie on the radio.
What do cherries sound like?
Just put on cherry poppin' daddies.
We've gotten so off track already. I
What's
love it.
happening? This is the
Speaking
episode
of
I'm not editing. Jesus Christ.
Speaking of cherries, last weekend we talked about a few real cherries from history.
Oh,
I don't know how that relates.
you had
but
to
it
get
does.
into a cherry picker to reach up and grab that transition.
Well, we usually record 4 Saturdays because that's when Zach's at his Segway peak. So you see it's so sort of like
By now,
rotten on the
We
vine.
just won't let
So-
you segue, will we? We're like,
on
nope.
my average, on my normal weekend binge, Saturday is the time where I'm riding high, and by Sunday I am crashing hard. So
Yeah.
last time we talked about the Pankhurst family, specifically the Pankhurst mother and daughters, who were instrumental in the women's suffrage movement in Great Britain, and ultimately the alternate history presented by me won out, in which largely they had the same lives, except at the end their various political differences were resolved when they went on a Wes Anderson-esque adventure after their father died, and once again saw the value in each other's company, with a lot of symmetrical shots thrown in for good measure.
All right. And thank you to Miriam Moreno for that episode also. But
Go ahead.
But this time around, we're discussing what is alternately called the Black Tom Affair and the Black Tom Explosion.
Oh, I like.
Spoiler alert.
How is there not a band that was that had one popular alt song called the Black Tom Explosion?
Well, 1,000 ships will launch tonight with the
It's the kind of thing that, if I was scrolling through my old iPod that had 13,000 songs on it, I would see one artist that was the Black Tom Explosion, and I'd be like, I kind of remember them, but I don't really.
and then you'd scroll right down to Cherry Poppin' Daddies. A few artists.
I'd go straight to either the Red Hot Chili Peps, my faves, maybe some Two Princes on the mix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What? For some reason, LFO came on at work yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
yeah. I had to think, I was like, who the fuck is that? Oh.
Yeah. But any hoozle, I'll be doing the actual history, And Timmy will be doing the alternate.
I like how I was supposed to be like the moderator for this one, but I failed so quickly. I had
also,
no control.
We sabotaged.
Yeah,
you.
it's almost like we set it up for a large explosive failure.
Yeah. I was a regular Lusitania struck by a German U-boat. For more information, listen to previous episode on the Lusitania.
I like how you say Lusitania and not Lusitania, because it makes me think of like a weird version of I, Tanya featuring the...
You know, we already covered that topic, so I don't have to remember it anymore.
Oh, we also covered George Washington.
You know, like how learning happens.
George Washington, an episode that features current guest Timmi Lasley.
That's true.
Oh, shit.
That's true.
Well,
I was the one that stacked two short people on top of each other.
You came up with that
I came up with that move. Trench coat wasn't even invented until George Washington did it.
Hell yeah. Well, the Black Tom affair. First of all, I should say...
A wonderful movie starring Pierce Brosnan. That's not even the alternate history, but now I wish!
Thomas Crown, Jesus. What was the other one that he was in?
GoldenEye.
It was not one of the James. Everyone, call in right now. Phone lines are open.
Mamma Mia.
Okay, yes, he's been in a lot of shit. I got a lot of stuff from this article for this actual history from an article in Smithsonian Magazine by one Gilbert King. So just to cite my sources. So place yourselves there. It's the evening of July 30th, 1916. We're in New York Harbor, and we're kind of close to the Statue of Liberty. Smell the ocean.
So many great novels open with such descriptions.
We're kind of near.
Stately plump Buck Mulligan descends the stairs.
1849 Britain. We're kind of somewhere around Big Ben.
Near Big Ben-ish, a little bit. Some guards at the munitions depot.
Some guards.
Some dudes.
You're a regular David Mamet, right?
Some guards at the munitions depot at Black Tom Island notice a series of small fires. Some guards decide to call the fire department. Others just run away.
Wait, are they on the island or are they on a...
They're on the island, yes.
Okay, because I thought they were watching from afar and saw a fire on a different island and were like, we gotta run. This baby's crossing the ocean.
No, because they don't understand water. Yeah, that's the thing. And they run like those Jesus lizards.
Jesus lizards. You know, the Messiah salamanders. What?
The ones that run on water?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. Okay. I didn't just dream that. But what a dream. Just after 2 a.m., there's a massive explosion, which turns out to have measured about 5.5 on the Richter scale. They went back and figured it out. And it was a series of explosions that was felt as far away as Philadelphia and possibly Maryland. And even... This is
those Marylands with their... Whenever they take the census, they always answer, I don't know, or...
See, to us in Western states, that sounds really far away, but that's super fast. It's a couple trains. You know,
you can walk there.
You can walk
pretty
there,
much
for sure.
You step out of your Queens apartment, you'll be in Maryland in 12 minutes, walking due south.
You can't even take a subway from Queens into a closer part of Queens in 12 minutes. Fuck the MTA right now. But even the best windows in Manhattan and Brooklyn were shattered. I wrote that down. That's a sentence I wrote.
The best. We saw the best windows of a generation.
It's a very literary episode. I got the Ulysses. We got Hal. Two unreadable things.
Perfect.
There's ash all over. Immigrants waiting to be processed at Ellis Island had to be evacuated. A flat-bottom barge captain who makes the rockin' world go round.
I was so hoping for it. Whoa. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It would have hurt me had you not.
Who, by the name of Freddie Mercury, he was watching from, not actually Freddie Mercury, he was watching from his cabin with two cabin men, and a direct quote from him is...
Cabin, yeah. I always heard it cabin boys, but they've got up... These are
men.
lifers.
Yeah.
Well, they started out as boys, but they did not stay boys for long.
Because they had their bar mitzvah on the ship.
Yeah,
Cabin-
Mazel tov.
Cabin boys to cabin men was their band.
Oh, that's dumb.
I love it so much.
Welcome to our podcast.
This dude says, when the explosion came, it seemed as if it was from above, zumph, like a Zeppelin bomb. I didn't see where the two cabin men went, but I think they must be dead. People in Manhattan saw shells shooting from the island, just like shooting them from fire, and travel a mile across the water. Basically, everyone thought they were going to die. Bullets exploding and flying around the island kept firefighters from getting close to the fire. And counts vary, but it's believed somewhere between 4 and 10 people died. But the explosion caused $20 million in damage, which is nearly $500 million in today's real money. So about Black Tom Island. Black Tom Island was a pretty major munitions depot. That's all about Black Tom Island. I thought I wrote more. Until 1915, American munitions companies could sell to anyone, even though America was a neutral country. But then the British blockaded Germany, and so that effectively meant that the U.S. was only selling to Great Britain, France, and Russia. And on the night of the explosion, a ship called Johnson Barge 17 was tied up at Black Tom Island with 50 tons of TNT, and it was tied up at the island overnight when it shouldn't have been, because the operator wanted to avoid a $25 towing charge.
Yeah, but it jumps up to 50 if you don't pay it within a certain amount of time.
Denver
That's how they
Parking
get
Bureau.
you.
There were also 69 railroad cars with over 1,000 tons of TNT.
Yeah.
Awaiting shipment to Russia, most likely. So in the days following the explosion, police questioned the guards on the island, who admit that they lit smudge pots to keep mosquitoes away, and some of them were accused of carelessness. But they
Careless smudge pottery.
I accuse Goody White of carelessness.
you realize this is 1916, right? But there's no evidence actually saying that it was the anti-mosquito pots that caused the explosion. Eventually, 3 railroad officials are arrested on charges of manslaughter, but they're eventually dropped due to lack of evidence. And police declare the explosion an accident. And people, like, for example, I wrote Woody Wilson, didn't believe German sabotage could be involved, mainly because the Germans were very well-dressed and hardworking. And they, which in Woodrow Wilson's case, he means to say they integrated, basically. So among those integrated Germans was the ambassador to U.S., Count Johann von Bernstorff, which I also mispronounced, but you couldn't tell.
It did sound like you were eating peanut butter.
And that's the secret of German.
Yeah. I think we all know that the origin of the German language was They got high and they were like, let's invent a language. And they had a jar of peanut butter in the middle of the room at the time.
In the middle of the room.
German was invented by a peanut butter eating horse, and we all know it.
Yeah, Herr Ed. His embassy staff was not diplomats. They were mostly spies, actually. And he was sort of the coordinator of the spies. He spent millions to help German war efforts through the U.S. He forged passports. He sunk ships. He ran guns. And one of his chief spies was a man named Franz von Ritalin. I don't know if that's how his last name is pronounced. Going with it.
I mean, that's how that ADHD drug is pronounced.
Anyway, he had things called pencil bombs manufactured for him, which were cigar-shaped explosive charges in copper chambers that would, like, the acids would eat away, and they were like a silent incendiary bomb, and they could go off days after being set.
Silent but deadly. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what he said
period,
after he planted each one, so everyone just thought he farted and walked away.
Oh.
For the time period this is set in, this is like some real James Bond shit.
Yeah, right. Except the farting. That's not really a James Bond thing.
Yeah, well,
maybe it is.
I
don't
just
know.
love where this is headed already.
You can't smell a James Bond movie. Maybe he's constantly flatulent.
Like, moon farter, golden fart, Dr. Fart.
We're gonna casino fart.
Tomorrow never farts.
Spectre fart. That's a one-word one. Sky fart. That's easy.
License to fart. Anyway.
I don't know any James Bond
Readers,
films.
you know what, listeners? How about submit your own James Bond fart parody at what's your Twitter handle, Brian?
At Revision Pod, let's say. From Russia with farts. On Her Majesty's Secret Farts. Okay.
You only fart twice. That's it.
Hell yeah. So, Ritalin, dude is thought to have attacked at least 36 ships over the course of his career. And an agent of his, a man named Michael Kristoff, who is a Slovak immigrant from Bayonne, New Jersey, shout out, along with...
All my Bayonne heads in the house.
Yeah.
My Bayonnites.
All my Bayonnes. B-A... Anyway.
I saw it. I saw it.
You saw just the pained look in my face.
Yeah.
Along with Germans, Lothar Witzke and Kurt Yankee are believed to have set the bombs on Black Tom Island. Christoph, in particular, is known to have come home at odd hours that night with filthy hands, and his wife said he smelled of fuel. So, the investigation took years, actually. They didn't come to the conclusion that it was German sabotage till, well after the war was over. Some say it was the first terror attack in the U.S. committed by a foreign power. So there was a commission after the war, and eventually $50 million was awarded to the plaintiffs, the U.S., but that was awarded in 1939 when the ruler of Germany was Hitler, and he refused to pay. Which makes it the 7,649th worst thing Hitler did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the jury was really out on Hitler until I heard he disregarded a fee.
Yeah. So the case, the final payment wasn't officially made by Germany until 1979. Side note, the explosion badly damaged the torch on the Statue of Liberty, and the torch has been closed to this day as a result of the damage. And probably the park staff have like secret torch parties. And Black Tom Island itself is now part of mainland Manhattan. It's actually part of Liberty State Park, because they did a whole landfill project and brought it into the mainland. And that's the actual history of the Black Tom affair. Hey there, this is Brian, reminding you that The Revisionist is supported by listeners just like you. You can make a pledge and get rewards like shirts and even the right to vote over at patreon.com/therevisionists.
Hello everybody, I'm JD Lopez, the host of Left Hand Right Brain. It's a free-flowing, wide-ranging conversation that I have with artists doing interesting and creative things here in Denver and beyond. We talk about their personal stories, break down their creative process, and what motivates them. Spoiler alert, it's mostly spite. We talk about all these things and more while kicking back, cracking wise, and always having a good time. You can find old episodes and everything you need to know at lefthandrightbrainpod.com.
That is so cute, Brian. What, did you look that up on Wikipedia? Come on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fucking people. They stop at one website and they think they've got the whole truth, you know? I've got the real truth for you. And I know that I don't necessarily do your podcast right because everybody else is like, oh, I'm going to write something fanciful and make them up, you know? And I don't do that. I know that with every history lesson, there's another history lesson buried deep inside that someone somewhere is trying to keep people away from the truth of it, you know?
The National Treasure Book
Yes.
of Secrets.
Pretty much. That's a great movie franchise. I highly recommend it.
It honestly kind of is. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of American art. Now, I got onto the dark
Web.
Wikipedia.
Oh, dark Wikipedia.
Dark Wikipedia. And I think to really give context, because history needs to be all about context.
Sure.
You really have to go back to the beginning of Black Tom Island. Okay, so Black Tom Island, it used to just be this rock floating out in the ocean that was like a naval hazard for people going to Ellis Island. And really though, what finally got them to turn it into an island proper with, you know, like by putting trash on it or whatever they do in a landfill project, you know, just building dirt out of trash.
Put some trash on it.
Yeah. Sink some trash into the ocean. Put some dirt on it. We got an island. Well, so this is why they really did it. There was a bunch of rowdy teens who would gather up on Black Tom Island, and you know, do their teenly stuff. You know,
what does that
smoking
entail?
cigarettes and flipping the bird at passing ships, you know. And so they were like, okay, we got to take care of this teen problem. They started throwing trash out there, thinking, oh well, the teens will eventually go away. And so they did. They went and found, you know, like malt shops and stuff. That was big at the time to go and hang out in instead.
If we know two things about teens, it's that they hate trash and love malts.
Right? Come on. Baby's first malt. So they got rid of the teens and now they've got this cool island, but it is kind of trashy. It's made of trash. It's, you know, that's kind of shitty. So it's a shitty little island. Nobody really wants to do anything with it. In walks some bad guy, greedy warmonger munition types. They're like, we'll take your trashy island. We'll store our barges full of munitions there. And people were cool with that. They were like, cool, you can have trash island. And then, so that's just like a little bit of context. This is how it all got started. This is why the munitions were there in the first place. You know, is it important to the story? I don't know. I didn't write any of this down. Because I pulled it straight off of the dark Wikipedia.
Right, of course.
So flash forward to, you know, whatever year this happened in. You seem to have done such a great job with all of nitpicky details.
Whatever year
I'll
this
let you
happened.
cover that part.
3006.
2,000 years passed, and then so okay. Now we're trying to stay out of this war, but we're still greedy capitalist Americans. We're selling ammunitions to everybody, which really does tick off the Germans. Your story was so close to the truth, Brian. Just so close. And this is how they really get you and how they tweak history, to like make it more palatable for the masses or whatever.
Wait,
they keep
you went from complimenting me to just like subtly insulting me.
Well, I mean, it's just not your fault if you don't know how to do research properly. You weren't taught in
subtlety
skills.
is now disappeared.
You weren't taught these skills in school, and
I
that's because you were too busy eating malts and flipping the bird, I'm sure. So
No, Brian would never deign to eat a malt or flip a bird.
we're getting malts right after this. Oh, I'm kidding. I got to wrap this up. I'm going to go see Black Panther later, so let me just stop insulting Brian and continue telling the real history. So Germans are ticked off. And they're like, hey, we know where they keep their munitions, where any sane person would, on Trash Island. And so they basically, and this is where our stories deviate. You say, ooh, they set fire. And I was like, no, this is for like, I was going to say queen and country, but like they don't really have a queen in Germany. But they're, for like national fervor reasons. They have to like make it like a really German attack. So instead of lighting fires, and this is what history professors don't want you to know, is what they did instead is they ate a lot of cabbage. Just so much cabbage. Just some of it pickled, some of it not, like they just really, some of it was in soups with, like sausage floating in it. And like some of it was just like straight up eating it like an apple, just like, but they just stuffed themselves full of cabbage. And there was like 6 or 7 of them, just real swarthy motherfucking Germans too, filled to the brim with cabbage. And they let loose what I would like to call the fart herd around the world. And I'm just glad that we've already traveled there. So now the audience is desensitized to the word fart. Cause I mean, see, we're not even giggling anymore. We're past that.
We're done.
We're adults now. We're all in our 30s. We got it out of our system. Now I can just tell you the history.
I believe this was reenacted in the movie All Quiet on the Western Front.
That was a good one. I like it. The sun also farts. Sorry. Okay. So.
And you know what? If you think about it, the sun is kind of just one gigantic fart that has been lit on fire to sustain all life.
If you think about it.
If you really think about it, you are completely correct, Zach. That is maybe the smartest fart thing I've ever heard said.
It's like, I can't poke a hole in it at all.
I would take credit, but I believe it was Stephen Hawking who came up with it.
Man's a genius.
Nobody's ever read A Brief History of the Universe or whatever it's called.
Oh!
But actually, that Cosmos books he wrote that's like 4,000 pages long, it's just that sentence copy repeated to fill the time. He knew no one, people would buy it to look smart. They wouldn't actually dig in.
You were the only one that did.
Little do they know if they open it, they would look hella dumb.
Okay, so yeah, that's what happened. So, I mean, there's more to it. Obviously, there's like there's so many questions left unanswered. Just, like, what kind of cabbage was it? Was it red? Was it not? Like, what is
the two kinds of cabbage, red and not red cabbage.
They got that radicchio. They cost $1 million at the grocery store. You're like, why is
like
this
blue collar comedy turn? They're just radicchio.
Well, how do you pronounce it?
Radicchio.
Radicchio. That's Radicchio. That's not how it's pronounced.
Yeah, that's a spell from Harry Potter, Brian.
Radicchio.
Yeah, it's when you ruin a salad by putting radicchio in it.
Yeah, why is it so bad tasting? I figure expensive things have to be good, right? No.
I don't know. It's like
they're trying to warn you
gaslighting us
with the price. They're like, please, we keep jacking up the price so people don't buy it anymore. What are you doing?
I feel like they did that with Bud Light at one point, where they were trying to discontinue like a certain model of Bud Light, and they like, well, we'll just raise the price and people
Bud
will stop
Rita
buying
or
it.
something.
And people, yeah, something like that. People bought it more. Clamato, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so you did mention the Statue of Liberty crown. It's like, well, if there weren't fires and all that, like, how did it get damaged? Like, well, the farts did start fires. Like, they were flaming hot. They were. There are some real swarthy Germans.
Sorry, I just pictured Chester Cheetah saying that.
They're real fucking hot.
Dangerously cheesy.
So it's just like that is like the nature of a really good lie, is you take the truth and you bend it just a little bit. And you might be asking yourself, like, well, why would they want to cover that up? Like, like why all this subterfuge? Why?
Because I have a theory.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
I imagine that the National Fart Association didn't want fart regulation introduced into Congress.
The NFA,
so they said it was a false flag
line.
Operation.
I think that's part of it. But I think really, like, it touched the core of wounded American pride. Like, it's basically a third grade prank that the Germans pulled on us, that we basically got shoved in the locker of
history,
world history. Yeah, it's just so they covered it up, and and it's some, like, they the damage incurred to the Statue of Liberty, the crown of it was extensive, and the smell still lingers, and that's why they can't have any tourists up there, and why they won't let.
And that smell explains Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yes, also that.
So suck it, Hoboken.
I also want to note that the actual plaque at the site of this explosion it said, the last line of it is, "You are walking on a site which saw one of the worst acts of terrorism."
It's got a fucking typo.
A typo in the plaque. So there's a sick on Wikipedia. And also,
yes,
it made me think that if I'm ever quoted, like if I ever an intelligent quote, which may happen one day, I just want to end it with a typo or an error, so that after my quote ends, they have to include the word sick. Just so it seems like they're agreeing with me.
Sick, bro. I like that. And honestly, like, I have a theory that the third National Treasure movie that they are, I know that they're this from the studios, the first, little tidbits I heard about it, they're really trying to make it more international instead of just so American based. So this dovetails perfectly. Like, you've got that perfect little typo. Was it on purpose? Was it not? Is it a message? Nick Cage will figure it out.
Yeah, as he does all things, except how to spend his money and not go bankrupt.
How to afford multiple castles with Nick Cage. Timmy, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry to insult you, but please do your research better next time. Please.
I'm sorry to insult you. I'm going to do it again. Listeners, before we move on to the judgment phase, we ask that you please write a review of the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you get podcasts. That is so helpful to us. It gets more listeners, gets more people writing reviews. This pyramid scheme we call a podcast. I'm not editing this episode. Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, just write about how they introduced an episode about how they're all mature 30-something adults and then talked exclusively about farts.
Not exclusively about farts,
Mostly about farts.
85% farts.
I was like, oh man, he's gonna step all over my story with his fart talk. But honestly, it was
That's
great.
my favorite
It was
NPR show, actually.
The only
Fart Talk.
editing that will be in this episode is Brian is going to add a number of fart sound effects consistently coming in.
Anyway, you can also support the show by pledging on Patreon, which is very helpful to us. We can upgrade equipment and do all sorts of things. You can find that at patreon.com/therevisionist and check out our multiple reward options. And find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and revisionistpodcast.com, where you can ask us a question, leave us a comment, write us a letter.
Twitter just purged all those Russian bots, and we took a real hit in our subscriber ratings.
Oh no!
So if you have some Mongolian bots or Kazakhstani bots, Kazakh bots, I guess.
That's a
Kazakh
tongue
bots.
twister.
Yeah, I like that. That's a
Uzbeki's bots. Uzbeki bots.
Uzbeki bots. Oh man, I'm writing a team up movie about this now. But Timmy, you have a lot of shows all the time. You are also
All the time. I'm just so busy.
you run the Comedy Room, which is a fantastic venue here in Denver. One of the best spaces we have, really.
It is, and all the producers we have are just so delightful. And you should come any Friday or Saturday that you're in Denver, 7 p.m.
Yay.
We're starting Tuesdays maybe and Wednesdays. We've got the ball rolling on all those. So
Yeah, check that out. You can find Comedy Room on Facebook and Twitter also, I believe. Hell yeah.
why I have
was gonna ask you,
actual
did you-
shows
Yeah?
I could plug that I'm on that you could come and see my hilarious quips and opinions at. I'll be at Ratio Beer Works on the 28th. That's this Wednesday. I've also got a real cool show at the MCA, the Museum of Contemporary Art. I had to really think about. I was like, what does it stand for?
Museum of Contemporary Asses.
The Marvel Cinematic Art, I think, maybe?
The MCA, the
Yeah.
other members of Beastie Boys. I forget now.
Yeah, they've got a cool museum downtown Denver, and they're putting up some comedy and bands and stuff up in the patio cool bar area. So
Hell yeah.
come by.
Actually, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not sure the exact date, my other podcast, Stage of Fools, will return because that show is finally coming back. So
No, you know damn well what show it is.
we don't speak its name.
He's the Royals.
But it is the Royals. Yeah, so if you want to, subscribe to that, there will be new episodes shortly.
As for me, listeners, I will be at Comedy Works on Tuesday. The Jibba Jabba.
The 27th.
27th, thank you. At 8. I'm also guest hosting Queen City Companion at Mutiny March 1st, which is an all-fall storytelling show, and it's fabulous. So come check that out if you are in Denver. And if you're in Fort Collins, I will be up at the Colorado Room March 8th.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm doing some Fort Collins stuff later in March. But I will say more about that when
Oh,
that is
yeah.
closer.
I mean, I've got dates in March, too. I got a lot more of them than just the 2 that I mentioned. You could go to timmylasley.rocks for all of my calendar.
I don't, so I'm just I'm just putting stuff in March. I have festival applications out. God. But Zach, I believe it's time for judgment.
If there's one thing in this world that I can't get enough of, it's farts. Because my life is so empty.
Much like your butt of farts.
Yeah. My life is like a hollow room in which a fart reverberates across the empty, dusty, disregarded tiles.
That is
I was
so
gonna say
poetic.
I was going to say your life is like a butt that has just farted. chasing after what used to fill it.
Yeah.
Man,
It's those-
sometimes though, I gotta be honest, I'll have a fart that I think about for days. It was just
My
like
life-
so satisfying.
My life
Like,
is
wow, that was really good.
my life, like a fart, is full of sound and thunder signifying nothing.
Oh, Brian's lady came home, and I'm sure she is so pleased to be hearing all this fart talk. 2 thumbs up.
Oh, she has to live with me. It's she doesn't have to, but she chooses to, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Well, great. I'm glad to see that Cabbage won the day. Swarthy Germans forever.
Yeah, SGF. But for everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
Have a good time. I didn't mean to make it sound like a question when I said my own name.
Brian Flynn?
Okay, not editing this episode. Jesus.